Yep.
All right, guys, welcome to Sloppy Casting. This might be episode 2 because I recorded like a 30-minute thing with some people, but this one's probably going to be a little more formal because that one was a little more... Anyway, whatever. So, yeah, we can just get started, guys? So, what question? You had a question for me?
So let's talk about your workflow first. So from what I understand, Slop, you don't write before you make your songs.
No, it's just like I make the beat and then... Even the beat making, it's kind of like I cut the sample from another song. I chop them up myself. Some people use loops, but I actually chop them myself. I cut them. You have to cut it right so that it flows properly. And then I usually change the speed. I'll either make it faster or slower to match the 160 BPM. That's what I produce most of my stuff in because it's just the easiest for me to work with. And then
just like kind of what you like to use.
Yeah, anytime I use a slower tempo or faster, it really kind of like doesn't come out like how I want it to. So I'm used to 160 BPM. And then honestly with that process, I don't do a whole lot of refining either. Like I really just crack them out. You feel me? Like, and then after they're done, I'll like just record like a freestyle right on top of that. Like just one take, boom. And then usually I'll do one take of ad-libs after that. Like you hear some of them in the background. I might be going like shla, shla, like in the background. So it's usually just one take of bam, one take of the other thing. You know what I mean? And that's just how, that's my process for that. And that's why I'm able to produce so much in a short period of time because there's not that much refining going on. And I'm not like the type of dude where I'm like insecure. Like when I say something or put something out, it's like I put it out and I just don't really think about it. It's just out there, you feel me? I've talked to a lot of people where and I've been in calls with people because I've been like talking to a lot of people who are underground producers and rappers. And they really get stuck thinking something sounds corny or something sounds blah, blah, blah. Whereas I'm the type where I just throw that sucker out there. You feel me?
Yeah.
Like,
Can't do that with mumble rap. It takes talent. I think Shrammy had a question.
Yeah, I got
a question.
I just want to expand on what you said just a second. So everything's off the cuff. You don't like sit down and kind of try and like write it out. You just kind of whatever is off your head, that's what you want to put out there because you think that that's like where you're at your best, kind of.
It's just I think I'm like spontaneously creative. I'm not good at sitting down and writing an essay, but I can talk a mile a minute. Like, and you guys know that because I go around promoting my thing and I just talk and talk. So that's like me, but actually putting that down into like more of a structured or refined way, I'm not really that great at. So I'm just like spontaneous creative.
And so you said you're out there promoting and spreading your stuff. How are you doing that? Like what's kind of your
usually
method for getting the word out?
My method is not. I just started doing it really because before now I've been focused on just working on like the actual music itself, but now, I guess my strategy is like I try not to just outright say right off the bat, like go sub to my channel because that's corny in my opinion. But I try to just actually be personable and initiate conversations with people because I feel best about doing that anyway. Like part of the reason why I'm even doing this is because I genuinely enjoy socializing with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
So I'm extroverted and I figure that is just a way to be for me. Like, I don't know. It's like I have a certain way of doing things and then doing this is like capitalizing on that. Like it's something I enjoy doing and I can also at the same time be like, yo, and I also have this channel if you want to see like more of my content. And I feel like it's a no-brainer, like to have that going on.
Yeah, so like you said this earlier. And you said like what I'm doing here. So like what's the overarching goal? So you're on the grind. You said you started this kind of in the beginning of May. You've been putting out a lot of stuff. You got 40 up there, I think, right now. 40-ish tracks. Yep. So what's the goal here? What's the Slop what's the Slop movement about?
It's pretty much just like I feel like it would be pretty big loss of potential for me to just be out there like doing a normal job. And like that's not to say that anything wrong with a normal job. I honestly feel like people who go through school and people who work normal jobs, like more than enough credit goes to those type people. But I've always never really vibed out with school, and I've like, even though I know everybody's lazy to some extent, but like I've been absurdly lazy to the point where I literally will not do like any of my work. And I just think that for me it would be such a more enjoyable life and a better outlet for me to pursue what I'm trying to pursue, because not everybody can do the kind of stuff I'm doing, and I think that it's just a better outlet in general.
I fully agree, and you do have that kind of personality that's really conducive to this kind of thing. I think it's perfect. And you were telling us earlier, before the podcast, you have a few sides to you, and I found that interesting. Do you want to expand on?
So the sides of me, we have the talkative me, which is probably right. Right now, we're starting to head more to the calm me, but basically, we'll start with the calm me. The calm me is like, that's usually like late at night sometimes if I'm feeling really chilled out. Sometimes I'm just feeling like super vibe chill out. And then I'll usually be talking in a little bit of a lower tone, a little bit of a slower tone. There's a little bar right there. And then like, it's just more of like a soothing thing. People even told me about like ASMR, but I don't know how to do that too much. Maybe I'll look into it. Who knows? Anyway, but then we have super talkative me, which I guess is like normal me. I just sound very like just talking and talking and talking. Like I can just keep talking about stuff infinitely pretty much. And then you have crazy Slop, which is pretty much Slop when Slop's on the mic and doing like recording type stuff, like recording the albums and all. That's like, you're hearing crazy Slop there on a lot of them songs. And a lot of people think I'm on something when I'm doing that stuff, but I'm really not. I really don't do anything. My personality, I try to keep it banging. I like keeping it banging, so I keep it banging.
They think you're bipolar.
Yeah, people have told me, multiple different people have thought that I'm bipolar. I very well could be, but I'm not getting that diagnosed, so who cares? Anyway, I guess I'm also realizing there's technically a fourth one, which is like the super introvert in me. Like in real life, I'm very introverted, and I will just be the person to sit in the back of the room and not say anything. And that's kind of the fourth, like, is just literally silent. Like I'm also think of myself as a philosopher in a lot of ways. So there's also that side of me, you know, where I'm not really extroverted at all. I'm like literally the exact opposite of that in real life.
So Slop is kind of a philosopher.
Yeah, I would consider, like, labels I have to attribute to myself are like, I like saying I'm a rapper, I like saying I'm a producer, philosopher, those type of labels. And I would used to say, like, you know, because I like just saying that kind of stuff. Like, people say, what you want to do when you grow up? I don't feel like saying anything normal. I feel like just being like, I've said in the past, like, I want to be a philosopher. And, like, that's not really something that's applicable to our environment, but it is applicable with, like, a YouTube channel or that type of thing, which is why I'm trying to look to that as an outlet, because, you know, that's
and these kind of long-form discussions, certainly. And like,
it just seems so like ridiculous for me to just get like a normal job and just kind of be like, you know, like I'm gonna make this final push to just, I'm putting my all into this. I'm gonna be promoting as much as I can, really, because I want to make this work. You feel me? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
So you say you want to make that work, but is that like, what's the goal? Like more
the
music?
Goal
out,
is
maybe like a paid album type stuff, or maybe like tour or concerts
live
or
music.
meetup?
Have you ever played any live music?
No,
Yeah,
well,
that's
because
the other
I'm
thing.
new to all this kind of stuff. Like, I only started producing a few weeks, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I'm not really refined musician yet. You know, I just kind of been messing with it. And
if you had to pick one of the songs that you've made, what would you say is your favorite?
My favorite, you know, I really banged out with the guitar. The first track on my first album, I like the guitar sample on that one a lot. And it's like, that one, I remember hearing that instrumental and thinking like, that's like a good song, you know what I'm saying? The other one I like a lot is the first track on my second album. And that one's good because I feel like it sounds a little bit different. You know, it's very like fast instrumental, all that type deal. And if you notice, I picked both of them too for like my first songs on each of the albums, because I do actually go through, listen to all this stuff and try to structure it in a certain way, like to where I think it would sound better like as a flow, as like a whole project. I kind of listen through and try my best to make an order that I think artistically expresses what the goal of the project is.
So, you said that you've been producing for the last couple weeks, and you've already, put out all this content. What, what kind of spurred you on to actually, you've probably been wanting to do this for a while, but what actually spurred you on to kind of sit down and actually start doing it? Was it everything that's going on right now, or did that play a part in?
Yeah, actually, I can get into this pretty in depth. So, like, I was always into, like, at first Kanye West. I was interested in his music. I was into rap and all that, and I was cool with all that. But it was mainly when I started hearing people like Playboi Carti and like that kind of sound with like Pierre Bourne produces a lot of his stuff. That guy really got me, like, with the whole hi-hats and the 808 sound of mumble rap. That really like got me into that aggressively, and I like just listen to that stuff so much. And I've been listening to that. I've been falling asleep listening to the same song on loop and waking up with that thing still playing. That's the other thing, is I'm really into just hearing the same thing over and over again. And I feel like that's kind of like a producer's brain, because when you're producing, you're hearing stuff over and over again because you're crafting it. So you have to put it on loop, add in different snares and claps in while the hi-hats is always running. So I kind of got the brain for that kind of stuff. But anyway, like, then I remember like wanting to produce, but obviously I had no clue where to start or nothing. So it was just like a keyboard, honestly. I'd go on a keyboard and I'd play stuff. Like, and even though I'm not musically trained at all, I played the trumpet, and I never really knew notes very well. I only knew the notes based on fingerings, not based on A, B, C, D, all that stuff. So I had a little bit of musical background, but I really wasn't that significant. And I noticed on the keyboard, like, I don't know chords or anything, but I could play like little melodies and that kind of stuff pretty well. And what I did for a while was just, I had a piano class in my school, and we'd have a keyboard there. It wasn't a piano. So I'd sit there, instead of doing the stupid piano music stuff, I'd go on the keyboard and like mess around with different stuff and just be there for the whole period. It would feel like just started playing. I'd be playing and playing and playing and playing. And it just, the period would be over and like the time would just flow by. That's kind of when I noticed like I had a real passion for music and all that kind of stuff. Then my dad has a keyboard here that's like a legit keyboard, all that kind of stuff. And I was fooling with that for a bit. What I did there is I actually recorded in a very amateur way. I have an audio interface because my microphone is like an XLR microphone, so it hooks up to an audio interface. So I could plug in the keyboard into that interface and just record stuff like straight into Audacity. So what I would do is I would play one thing, like one part of a song I envisioned, like the melody, on the keyboard, and record that as one track in Audacity. Then I would, on top of that, keeping the same right tempo and all that stuff, record some on top of that. And I recorded about 4 or 5 tracks. My dad explained to me it's called like overdubbing. And so I actually recorded a lot of that stuff, and I have that stuff still. It's like 17 tracks. It's not trap. It is like just, again, like me just playing the keyboard overdubbed and like playing stuff in match tempo. I might release that someday, who knows. But that was like my first time actually making stuff, and I would play that for like my family and when people were over, and they thought it was all like cool and it actually sound legit and all that stuff. Now, what finally got me into producing was I was in a relationship with someone online, and they were showing me how, because like I was really into trap, I was really into mumble, and I was really into these producers like Pi'erre and all this other stuff. And then they showed me that for this school they have it's some corny program called Band Lab or something like that, and I thought it was corny and I wasn't gonna try it, but I just tried it out. And they had one of them basic like drum machine pattern, like where you click in the stuff. And I was using that thing. I was kind of like, something was working. Like I was like using it, and I was like, dang, like I really like using this thing. And then I was thinking like, okay, well, I know peeps who produce, they be using FL Studio and all that stuff. So I was like, honestly, maybe it's time I look into getting like a real software to use it on, because that's I feel like that's the legit way of doing it.
With that, I have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
So you mentioned that your dad explained it was called overdubbing. So question one is, does your dad have some sort of production background? And question two, you played it for your family. How has family support been for this whole project?
So my dad, he's a traditional musician. I think I'm a very contemporary one. He's talented in the sense he can play the guitar, he can do that kind of stuff. But he said he never really liked recording because it's just he like most people, I feel like when they record something, they can come up with an idea, but then actually materializing it, like getting it recorded and making it sound perfect, a lot of people can't really crank it out. So he's never been into recording, but he likes playing the instrument. Like, again, we have a piano in our house. He has guitars. We obviously have a keyboard. My sister plays the piano. So I've been around a lot of music. He even has like record players and stuff and like good like hi-fi speakers and all that. So I've been around music. Even though I haven't learned it fundamentally, it's been a pretty big influence in my life in that sense. So he hasn't recorded anything, but he's definitely played instruments. And with the family stuff, it's like it wasn't overly meaningful for me, because I know that like even if it was bad, like they'd probably still say it was good. But for the most part, like people were legit interested in that. And like even one of my uncles, like he was talking to me about how, like when he was in college or whatever, he had some music production class, and like that was cool. Like it's just because like you legitimately connect with people, and they're not just saying it because like they're in your family. And then even like my grandparents were like, they're into just like super old stuff, like old head territory music. They were just like, yeah, sounds cool, and that's pretty funny hearing because they they don't really care about it. But yeah. So, and then where I was going with FL Studio and all that was like originally I was making beats and stuff for this girl I was in a relationship with, because like, and
was that over Discord?
It was over Discord, yes, for about a month.
Okay.
But when school started back up for her, she just wasn't really able to be on anymore, and she got busy and all that stuff. And honestly, I know this might sound weird, but it really wasn't that big of a deal for me, because she kind of got me on this, like, at least she set me up to know how to, or to inspire me to get FL Studio. And I was just grinding that thing out. Like, so I got hype with this, like, new hobby. And, like, I was the type of person where I didn't really have passions or anything like that. I wasn't really into a whole lot of stuff. Very, like, nihilistic. And, like, so when I found out this music joint, I was like crazy. Like I was so excited because like I legitimately love messing with this. I love like associating myself with like producer, musician. Like they're all titles that, because I feel like you can have a hobby, but like you need to have a hobby that you feel confident telling other people that you're a part of. Like it's like for me, it's like when you tell people you're into like playing video games or something, like that's cool, but like that's just kind of like a normal type of thing. To me, at least. I mean, some people I'm sure love associating with that, but for me, it's always been like I've been a little bit not really liking that label being put on myself. I like producer, musician, rapper, putting that on myself. I like those type of labels. Is my kind of thing.
It's like there's a plane called the F-35, and the difference between the F-35 and the F-35 naval variant is that the F-35 will have to take off from a runway. But the F-35 naval variant has vertical takeoff and landing. And I feel like if you're just playing video games, that's like a normal type thing to do. Everybody knows what you're doing.
Damn, man,
if you take off vertically straight up, I feel like that's what you're doing with the producer label. You're differentiating yourself from the crowd. You're showing that you have creative talent instead of just the ability to consume things like games.
Exactly. And that's why that's a very good way of putting it. Like I even like saying I'm an artist, even though I don't really draw nothing. It's like I feel like I can say that because I'm doing like, again, I'm doing podcast, I'm doing producing, I'm doing rapping, I'm doing talk, like I'm doing all this stuff. So like I just call myself an artist in the sense of like not really drawing nothing, but that's another label I like associating myself with. But even saying that, it's like it's not even artist in the sense of drawing, like being able to say I'm an artist, because it's like my brain is wired that way, like philosophically wise. Like I like saying that type of stuff.
So like you're like really interested in philosophy, and you said that you wanted to be a philosopher when you were like a little kid and stuff. Like what, if you had to say, were like are your main influences? Because like every philosopher, they always draw from other philosophers. So like who would you say like is your biggest influence?
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like philosophically wise, I just watched a lot of stuff on YouTube, right? Like a lot of people. And I would figure that, like, when I first was getting into stuff, I've been raised in a family where it's like church every Sunday, and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing I ventured into was reading the Bible, which I think I read the whole thing. Started when I was in like 8th grade and finished it when I was in about 10th grade. I'm a senior now.
Impressive.
Gotcha.
So I did finish it, but obviously it was like something I feel like, reading the Bible, like it was just something I wanted to do, just because it's like that's something I feel like is meaningful.
And it's been such a big influence in your life, or at least framework wise.
For a bit.
At least figure it out.
I'm saying like the so I and it was for a while like I'd be going to church and all, but like I don't really feel like going to church means nothing unless you actually it's I don't know. I felt like for a long time like I'd be going and all and think all this stuff, but like I don't know. It just didn't really click until I started going on YouTube and getting into like not because the church, the best way I can put it, it's like fast food Christianity. Like they just kind of say stuff to you, and like they're not really getting into the stuff that I like getting into, which is like like the different ways you can interpret stuff and what's like the actual deeper meaning and what's going on, and like obsessing more over that kind of stuff. So like as
somebody who's philosophically minded and who's read the Bible, I'm sure, maybe I'm wrong, that you've given the book of Proverbs a little bit of extra thought. Am I correct? Maybe
I like Ecclesiastes and Proverbs. They're my favorite of the Old Testament, although honestly haven't really read the Old Testament much. I've mainly read the Gospels because I like Jesus and his philosophies. That was influencing me for a bit. Still kind of does, in the sense of like the whole like always forgiving other people thing, I feel like is a big deal to me, because it's like I don't think it really gets anywhere staying angry at people, because it's only hurting yourself, right? Like if you're angry at another person, you're just hurting your own mind. You feel me? So like I started wanting to be like, I'm literally not going to be angry at people. And like I would get into arguments with my mom a lot and that kind of stuff. And I would just like consciously be taking steps to like not do that anymore, because it doesn't get you anywhere just to be angry at people and not forgive people. Even though plenty of times I say that to people, and that always forgive people. And a lot of people hate that idea. They don't agree with it. But I think it's one of the most important things, because when you don't forgive someone, not even talking about the religious, like it's literally just like if you don't forgive somebody, you're only hurting yourself, because you're holding on to that anger and that hatred, and that doesn't affect them. Like I can hate you, for instance. That doesn't change you. That doesn't make you any different. Even if you did a bad thing or whatever, you can hate a criminal. Doesn't change their mind. It just makes you have a bunch of negative energy going on in your head, and it's like the always forgive thing. And like, maybe we don't need to react with like aggressive consequences for stuff. Like, it's kind of like somebody, the whole like turn the other cheek thing. I like that. Like, 'cause it's like, you just kill someone and then like you kill that person too, then you just have 2 people dead, instead of, whereas it seems like it just doesn't really solve much, and it's about.
I see something very interesting here, which is that you mentioned that you were very nihilistic, and then you mentioned that your favorite book is Ecclesiastes, which of course starts very nihilistic, talking about how essentially nothing matters and everything that has been done will be done and has been done in the past. And time will pass, rivers flow here and there, and nothing changes. And so that's something that I think is interesting.
Yeah, and I think existentialism has played a very big role in my life and continues to do so. You know, even with this whole quarantine thing, it's like I'm not going to have a traditional graduation, right? I'm not going to go through all that stuff. But if I'm going to be honest, I'm like thrilled about it because I couldn't be bothered with the whole traditional way of doing things because I don't really see a purpose. It's like I haven't even really seen a purpose in high school for me because I don't see it's going to affect my future. So like,
are you in high school currently?
Yeah, well, I'm a senior. I'm going to be graduating soon. So yeah.
I see.
And
that's something that can be it's like a shock dart where it's like it's a really sudden change when you get out of school.
Mm-hmm.
It can be tough.
I can understand. I see that you're not looking to go to college and you want to, or maybe you do, but at least you don't want a normal office type job.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm really giving this last push for this thing because I could do a normal type job, but I think that I have better use for the world doing other stuff. Like I just feel
in terms of your music, I've seen that you've written a lot of songs. What would you say like your favorite key to write in be?
So bass note wise, because that's the main thing. I guess I'd know the key because I sample stuff. When I did, I think 3 of them I played in on my. I got a MIDI keyboard too, but anyway. So like key wise, I don't know a whole lot about the science behind that. I mainly know about how to make rhythm work, but with the notes, I've been doing like C, E, and G for the bass notes. That's been the notes I've been messing with. And I guess this is basically I can get into a bit of my production. I like the sound where it's like you probably noticed this too, the bass notes, the 808s, they're hitting like up and then down. So I might start it at like E, and then it might go down to C, and then it might go like up to G, like, you know, kind of like that type of sound. And I feel like
what time signature do you normally write all your
like
stuff in?
BPM, like 160 BPM is what. Yeah.
You know, like 404.
Oh yeah, well I guess 4/4. Yeah, that's definitely 4/4 is what I write it in. Yeah.
Of course, you don't really apply a lot of music theory to mumble rap.
Yeah.
Which is what
no.
Mumble rap.
But I'm probably gonna learn it a bit because I just kind of feel like that's proper for what I'm trying to do. Like,
but I mean, like listening to some of your music, it really is kind of like that shock dart mentality of just off the cuff, right in your face. None of this kind of more formulaic music type stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm saying like, because this one dude I was in CS:GO, he was saying, oh, you know, every rapper says their stuff is different. I'm really trying to make something different in terms of like, I really don't know people who release that kind of stuff. And maybe my stuff ain't flawless, but it sounds like legit enough, you know, to where
pretty close to flawless, Slop.
You know, it's like, and
it's solid. Who do you think you're making music for? Like, what's your target demographic? If you're trying to be out of the norm, who are you pointing toward?
I mean, I'm honestly pointing towards, I feel like mumble as a whole, right? It's kind of like, I guess my philosophy with that is, right, you have, for a long time, people use words to relate with songs. And a lot of people I notice are more lyrically inclined to music. I've always been more instrumentally inclined. When I'm listening to rap, I'm into the beat. I'm not really into whatever the dude's saying. With songs, I'm not really interested into the person's words. I'm interested in the sound it's creating. I'm a very sonically based musician.
Yeah.
And I think that with mumble is you're using your voice as another instrument and an instrument alone. You're not conveying lyrics. So it's like for a long time, music has been instrumental. And when you're making because when I'm doing it, it's still like you got a flow and everything and blah, blah, blah. Like, so you, for a long time, music's been instrumental. It's not always lyrical. And people just figure like, oh, I hear words in a song, I need to understand what they're saying. I kind of like the mentality of just like, you can't understand what they're saying. Like, you know, if I wanted to...
Make you the perfect mumble producer. I noticed that a lot with Eat Slaw, Drink Slaw. Because really the only words are eat slaw, drink slaw. But you can really get that instrumental in there. And I think that's something, there's a guy who does something similar. I think his name's Bob Gardner. and you can listen to him. He's very good with that. But without needing to pull a whole bunch lyrically, you can do a lot with your beats and your instrumentals.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, too, I'm not even doing a whole lot with the beats as of now. Like, it's pretty much just, like I said, my sampling process. I listen to a lot of soundtracks, usually from games, because I feel like growing up, I listened to a lot of stuff from games, so my brain is oriented on that type of thing. It's changed the speed, and I'll usually just take it, play it 4 times, and then pitch it down 25%, play it 4 times, then back to normal pitch 4 times, back down 4 times. Or if it's longer, if I slow it down, I might only do it twice or once. It just depends.
And you're pitching it down with that CEG, or you're pitching
usually, because the thing
good.
are at different notes. So I just pitch it down. It's not exactly 25%. It's approximately 25% down to whatever note is around 25%.
Gotcha.
So it depends on the sample, because I take different samples from stuff.
Maybe A or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I guess just like, it's crazy how it's been 2 weeks and I'm at 100 subs. Like, I feel like
that's
that's
pretty impressive.
It's not
That F-35
unheard of, but
taking off like the F-35, man.
I think
Straight up.
it's like basically
Slop 35.
I like that, man.
It's like I just have to remember, I feel like a lot of things I would take for granted, and even now it's like just having like the voice that I have, to where there's a lot of people where they're insecure about joining Discord calls, or they're insecure about talking because of their voice. And I've never really paid much attention to. I've just talked, and like, it's actually, there's a lot of people out there who might want to do what I'm doing but can't, because I don't really care about the whole squeaker thing, but I feel like unless you make that a marketable part of your channel, you're probably not going to end up making it unless you have a voice for it.
You don't want to be squeaking.
You know, and a lot of people have an issue with that, and a lot of people just like my voice or whatever just because of the way it is. But I'm just remembering now is when I was a kid, I played the DS games a lot, like Pokemon. I put a lot of hours into that. And I remember that was like my first experience with YouTube, is watching people let's play that stuff. And I would literally, like, as I was playing the game, I didn't know nothing about recording. This is when I was young, you feel me? Like, I would be talking to myself, acting as if I was making the video, like acting it out back then. So I honestly think that might have been what started the way I am now, is because I've actually spent a lot of time talking to myself. And I haven't been doing that recently, because now I've been like,
you have this outlet.
This outlet for it. But like, I've for a long time been thinking about videos. I've started making videos, never really materialized them. Probably like in 5th grade, I had like the camera in front of the DS and all that stuff. And like, I've been at this for a while. It's just now it's like I know what I'm actually doing. Like, I'm old enough to actually materialize stuff. I have a good mic, I have a good computer, and after all that time of like talking to myself about stuff, and like now I'm just able to just keep talking and talking and talking, because I was acting like I was making videos even before I knew nothing about recording. Yeah.
So I guess my last kind of question is, so I'm on your channel and you've been putting out all this music, and then you got Big Schlop, Big Cabbage. So you're trying to push for this music, and then you got this kind of like more IRL style video.
Yeah, it's a little abstract. Yeah. So that was because I was in a Discord call with someone, and they said that I was talking to them about my channel and all that, and they said they'd be a loyal subscriber and do all this. They said they'd like all my videos, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If I uploaded a video of me drinking milk and eating lettuce. So at first I was contemplating
that.
I was contemplating it because there's that whole thing about, oh, well, you're just doing it because someone told you to, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
you're a
sellout.
sellout.
Taints that image.
But
if you do it too much.
At the same time, it was like, I'm the type of person where I hear an idea, I just run with it. So I was kind of like, I want to do this thing just because it seemed like a good idea. And to be honest, I feel like it fit the aesthetic of my channel and what the theme I'm trying to go for, which is sloppy. Like, So I did it, and he subbed and all that, but it's been a good video otherwise. That one's been doing well, and the reception from it's been positive anyway. So I feel like it was meant to be. If people are giving me other ideas and stuff, like, that's all cool. You know, I don't think it's really selling out. I think it's just like someone's recommending I do something, I'm doing it. Like, it's not, there's all this negative connotation about like stuff like, oh, doing stuff, blah, blah, blah. Like, but sometimes you just hear ideas and you just do them, and that's all it's about. Like, it doesn't really matter that I got one sub. What matters is like that video was a good creative outlet and that type of thing, you know?
Absolutely. And we wish you the best of luck with all your future uploads. We know you're going to be taking off like that F-35 with the vertical takeoff. Thank you for listening to the Schlopcast. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we've got to meet up with some other friends to play Valorant, so...
All right, see you around, dude. It's been fun, yeah. All right.
Definitely hop in here later. So.
All right, yep, bye. All right, yep. It's been Sloppy Casting, guys. Thank you for watching. I don't really know where I was going with